And I think what women fail to realize is that you cannot have chivalry and equality at the same time. Those two things don't equate. Let me say that again. You can't have chivalry and equality at the same time. Why? Because of this saying, women and children first. Because women and children are a protected class lesser than a man. Simple. Women and children first because they're a protected class lesser than a man, and they're protected by men. And what I would say, as I get ready to get into my closing, I would say this to the women who are listening in today's conversation and the men as well, and those who may come and listen to the replay in the future. If there's nothing else that you get from today's conversation, men want women with the least damage or mileage as possible. I'm going to repeat that. If women understand one thing from this conversation today, men want women with the least damage or mileage as possible. Meaning, if the average woman have been screwing from, let's say, we'll use legal age of 18, we all know that women start indulging in sexual behavior long before 18. But we'll use 18 for the conversation, and particularly in the US. If the average age of a woman for getting married is about 27, 28, and she comes into her womanhood at 18, that's roughly 10 years of a woman in society messing around, getting banged out by different dudes. And we know what usually happens during that 10-year period. That means she has several broken hearts, three, four, five broken hearts, maybe more, maybe less. She's taken a lot of carousel rides, BJCs, probably has been abused, meaning it could be physical, it could be verbal, it could be a combination of both. And it's quite possible that she may have had at least one or two abortions. And I think one of the things that women don't always tell men, at least not before they're married to them over a period of time, is that the memories of those abortions haunt them. As they grow up and mature, the memories of those abortions haunt them. And basically, what this boils down to is that that period from when a woman was 18 years old to when they're 28 or 30 or whenever they actually gets married and look to settle down with a man, she has suffered a lot. She's suffered a lot emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And this is what we call, trauma, pain. For a man looking for a woman to wife, that's baggage. That's a lot of baggage. Now, I'm going to use an analogy that most people would probably understand. And this probably more so the women more than the men. But one of my ex years ago, she was a chef. And I've been cooking for a long time. So I know how to shop for food as well. But I will say this, I mean, If you're shopping for food, particularly vegetables, and I'm going to use the tomato as the vegetable, nobody chooses a bruised tomato to put into their cart. When you're feeling a tomato, if it's bruised up, what do? You put it back and you search for a tomato that's what? A tomato that's firm, that doesn't feel like it's been banged around, like it's dropped on the floor a couple of times and people put it back on the shelf. Or in the shipping, it was right on the corner of the box and it got banged up. Nobody takes the bruised up tomato. So why do we do that? Both women and men do that when we shop because we want the best quality product. That's a natural way of selecting a high quality product because a tomato reveals its damage very easily. It's soft shell, it's outer skin, and it's soft inside. So the firmer it is, the higher the quality it is. The softer it is, the more damage it shows and displays. So if a man have a choice, he would rather choose a firm tomato, i.e., a woman that is less bruised, a woman that is less damaged emotionally, psychologically, and physically. And this takes us back to the topic. Men set the standards to society. Why? Because men pay. We pay for the product, which is a woman. Shout out to Kevin Samuels, RIP, my brother. That was one of his statements. What product over time with use and age increase in value? Doesn't exist. And in short, because men set the standards and can change the current standard in society if we wanted to, but I think the reason why most of us are not able to do so is because men are weak. Many men today are weak. We're weak mentally and we're weak emotionally because we have not really seen men of high standards in our upbringing on television throughout the society. So we don't really know what the capabilities of men are. Most men just don't understand, I should say, what power is. Power is the ability to withhold and to give. It's both. And most men don't understand how to wield power, which is why a man like Kanye West, that's worth several $billion, runs around and cry on social media about his inability to see his children. If he really understood how to wield power, he would do so because other powerful men in the society don't suffer the same things and they don't go into public crying about it. They take steps quietly, they make phone calls, and they make things happen. And we know from a lot of either videos or magazines, women magazines, that women today are suffering and primarily from working on these jobs, 8, 10, 12-hour days, 5, 6 days a week, because working for your survival is not as easy as it appears. See, because women never saw how hard men work, they assumed that it wasn't really much. He just went out, came back 10 hours later, and gave me these greenbacks. And I went out and I bought what I want. But when you have to do it for yourself, then you realize that, hey, I don't want to have to do this forever. Forever is an eternity. Women want to enjoy the pleasures of life. They want fine things. They want nice things. They want soft things. And that's what we lack in society today. That's why we see so many women talk about how they have to be both man and woman, or wear their masculinity, which is weird to me because a woman shouldn't be wearing any masculinity. A woman should be feminine all the time, 24/7. And I think when men see women or in a culture where they see women feminine 24/7, initially it's a shock because in America you don't see it that often, not 24/7. You might see it in spurts, but not 24/7. And getting back to the subject, every man knows when he's ready to settle down, when he wants to start a family, when he wants to choose a wife. And when he make that decision, he's looking for the best woman he can get. Quality in both attractiveness and physique, quality in terms of cultural upbringing, and quality in terms of her whole uh, worldly experience and how much damage she has. And what that translates to for a man is low mileage. Low mileage equals high quality. More mileage equals lower quality, or what we say is a 304. And this is not something that just applies to today, whether it's 2022, 2024, 2050, the 21st century. Men will always think this way. It doesn't matter what time and period we're in. You could go back 1,000 years, 5,000 years, 10,000 years, or you can go 5,000 in the future. As long as men have to pay for a woman's life completely from start to finish, he will have to set the standards because he's the one that know the product that he wants. It's no different from back in the day. I remember back in the 80s and 90s, many car makers used to always compare their cars to a Mercedes Benz. They would always make a comparison in their commercial to a Mercedes Benz. Why? Because the Mercedes Benz was the standard of a high quality automobile, both in safety, luxury, and performance. And when men sets the standards for a woman or for the society, women up their game to become better because they want to get the better man. So simply put, men like new shit, plain and simple. Men like to own shit, plain and simple. And men are very protective of the shit that they own. And a man will consider his wife his, which is why sometimes we'll see in the news that some man will delete another man for messing with his woman because that's his shit. Now, I know some people may get in their feelings and say, well, you know, she wasn't worth it anyway. You should have walked away. Yeah, there's some men that can walk away and say the woman is not worth it. But there's some men just are prideful. They take it as a personal offense. You knew she was mine. You knew she was taken, and you still decided to encroach on my space. I'm gonna make you pay a price. That's why men do that because men protect what they own, and men are protective like that. And next to a new car, the only thing a man will lay his life down for is his woman, obviously, and his children. But his woman come first because you have to have a wife before you can have it. Well, not in today's society. I was about to say you have to have a wife before you have a child, but those are bygone days, right?